If we are ever going to get back to the old America, that's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath insist there be no debate about any of it. That if you don't see it right away and go along, you're bad, stupid, and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh, 2 + 2 = 5. Isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't add. You can't just say.
In the newest episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, the comedian goes all out with a blistering critique of the left, calling out their obsession with woke fantasies and extreme political correctness. As America faces critical challenges, Maher warns that the growing divide between left and right has never been wider, and it threatens the nation's future if left unchecked. He argues that the true promise of the United States, freedom, opportunity, and common sense governance, can only be preserved if the left steps back from its radical agendas. With his signature wit and unapologetic commentary, Maher delivers a message that is both bold and impossible to ignore, mixing humor, insight, and political analysis in a way that sparks conversation across the country. From pointed observations to moments that make viewers rethink the current state of politics, this episode is packed with highlights that fans of sharp, honest commentary won't want to miss.
But as it is so late in the game, let's just go right to the granddaddy of bargains now. The left will seriously quash all their loony woke, and the right will stop the slide into autocracy. That's really the only card left to play.
I'll grab the clip in just a moment. But first, it's clear that Bill Maher is hitting hard, and I have to say, I'm on his side here. If the left truly wants unity, it's time to move past their obsession with wokeism once and for all. This isn't about silencing progressive voices. It's about recognizing that extreme ideologies are tearing the country apart instead of bringing it together. Of course, the right isn't blameless. No side is spotless. But Maher makes it painfully clear that a significant portion of today's political dysfunction comes from the left's unwillingness to compromise. And in this episode, he lays it all out, showing exactly why the nation is so divided and why a shift in approach is long overdue. Expect sharp humor, biting commentary, and insights that make you rethink the state of American politics.
The basic problem we have in America is conservatives think the liberals are insane, and they're not completely wrong. Now, I don't think most liberals are insane, but neither do they make it clear they disapprove of the ones who are, and their cowardice in not marginalizing their own crazies has been their downfall. I couldn't get Neil deGrasse Tyson, a genius scientist and preeminent scientific voice in the media, to agree that it was ridiculous for Scientific American and The Atlantic to be claiming that separating sports by sex doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Actually, it makes perfect sense.
Bill Maher throws down the gauntlet, going full force against what he sees as a woke left completely out of touch. In his view, it's irrational, delusional, and disconnected from reality. What makes it even more alarming is that some of the so-called intellectuals in their corner, scientists, philosophers, cultural commentators, seem to have traded reason for ideology. Common sense, Maher argues, has been replaced with a twisted set of dogmas that collapse under even the slightest scrutiny. You hear their policies, arguments, and moral crusades, and all you can do is stare in disbelief. Nothing adds up. Nothing feels real. Yet somehow, they conjure convoluted justifications, twisting logic to defend the indefensible. Maher's point lands hard. When an entire movement swaps reason for fantasy, the result isn't progress. It's chaos, all while wearing the mask of virtue.
And there's a lot of stuff like that on the left. And when conservatives see it, they say, I'm sorry, we're just not going to go along with reinventing society, often pointlessly, even if we have to cancel democracy to do it. That's what they're saying. They see gender as only a construct and sex as assigned at birth, and they say, we're not doing that. Transing kids by self-diagnosis with no age limit, no parental notification, and no acknowledgement of social contagion, not doing it.
Think about it for a moment. How can anyone seriously argue that gender is purely a social construct when biology, science, and simple observation clearly show that men and women have distinct traits, features, and natural differences? These distinctions aren't imaginary, they're reality, staring us in the face. Yet the woke left often shuts down this conversation, treating facts as if they're offensive. It goes even further. Maher raises a point that children, who can't even drive, vote, or buy alcohol aren't mature enough to make permanent medical decisions that could have lifelong consequences. And suddenly, those raising these concerns are labeled extremists. It's backwards, reckless, and a stark example of ideology overtaking reason. Maher drive the point home. Ignoring biological truths and using children as political pawns isn't compassion. It's dangerous delusion.
Asylum now covers any reason for anyone to come to America. Not doing it. Homelessness is a lifestyle. Natural immunity doesn't count anymore. Whiteness is toxic. This is in women's prisons. Welcoming the Intifada. We're not doing it.
Maher doubles down with a ruthless rundown of woke issues the left desperately needs to drop. And honestly, none of them are rocket science. In fact, letting go of some of these sacred cows could actually help solve the problems they claim to care about. Take homelessness, for example. Instead of romanticizing it as a lifestyle choice or turning every sidewalk into a makeshift encampment, why not tackle the root causes? Get people off the streets, provide real housing, and offer support needed to confront addiction, mental health struggles, or financial crises that led them there in the first place. That's how real progress is made. Leaving people to live in tents on city sidewalks isn't compassion. It's cruelty disguised as tolerance. And it doesn't just harm those individuals. It impacts everyone forced to live amid the decay.
If we are ever going to get back to the old America, that's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath, insist there be no debate about any of it. That if you don't see it right away and go along, you're bad, stupid, and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh, 2 + 2 = 5, isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't add. You can't just say
Maher zeroes in on the woke mob, blasting them for relentlessly pushing their ideals onto everyone else. His message is clear. Not everyone will think like them, live like them, or buy into the same illusions they treat as truth. And that's perfectly fine. The problem, Maher argues, is that the left struggles with disagreement, demanding total conformity instead of tolerating different perspectives. Meanwhile, the rest of us stay grounded in reality, focused on helping society thrive, families prosper, and communities remain safe, not indulging in every passing identity crisis or self-serving fad disguised as activism. Forcing people to follow absurd social experiments isn't progress. It's authoritarianism masquerading as compassion. Maher's point is undeniable. If the left wants credibility again, they must stop dictating how everyone else should think, live, or speak. Freedom is about choice, not woke policing.
You can't just say math is racist, queers for Palestine, looting is cool, healthy at any weight. If the men's football team played the women's team, it would be a tie. You can't just say.
Bill Maher drives home a point that should be obvious, yet somehow isn't to the woke left. You can't just make up facts and expect society to follow blindly. Facts aren't toys to be twisted to fit an ideology. They are grounded in reality, science, and logic. Truth doesn't bend just because it offends feelings or clashes with a trendy narrative. Too often, the left hides in an echo chamber where fantasy is repeated until it feels real. Maher insists it's time to step outside that bubble and face the world as it actually is, not as they wish it to be. Only then can meaningful debates take place and real solutions emerge. Progress can't be built on delusion. Ignore facts, and you abandon reason itself, and with it, the chance for a functioning, united society.
I mean, you can, but it doesn't make it true, because you're not Harry Potter. Smug self-righteousness in the defense of some of the dumbest ideas to ever come down the pike is not a formula that's really working for you. Because here's one thing I can promise every liberal in this country. The Democrats can win every election from now until forever. And the people who now hold the reins of power will not give a shit and will not give it back if they think you're still nutty.
As much as I don't buy into the idea that conservatives would refuse to give up power if liberals lost elections, putting liberals in charge has repeatedly proven to be a recipe for disaster. History shows how this story ends. When liberal policies and the woke agenda take control, chaos often follows. Plans that look good on paper crumble in reality, Endless virtue signaling replaces real solutions, and governments obsessed with feelings over facts take the reins. If Americans want another round of that, it's their choice. But let's not pretend we don't know the consequences. We've already endured years of woke governance, and the results weren't inspiring. Inflation, cultural division, endless political fights, and weakened institutions. That's the legacy. Vote for woke leadership if you must, but don't be shocked when the fallout hits hard.
Let's make one last stab at a grand bargain between the two sides that hate each other so much. America used to do this all the time, make bargains, and I've suggested many myself, like you stop saying fetuses are the same as babies, and we'll stop saying trans women are the same as biological women. You stop saying alternative facts, and we'll stop saying my truth. You stop saying thoughts and prayers, and we'll stop with the land acknowledgement.
Hold on. Let's pause for a reality check. One side of this debate is firmly grounded in facts, while the other floats on fantasy and wishful thinking. A fetus isn't an abstract concept. It's a living organism with a brain, organs, and undeniable potential for life. Ending that life isn't just a choice. It's ending a human existence. Full stop. That's fundamentally different from grown men competing in women's sports while identifying as women. These issues aren't remotely comparable. One is about protecting the most vulnerable human life. The other indulges identity experiments that challenge fairness in biology. When Maher examines them side by side, he highlights a distinction clearly. Not every debate belongs in the same category, and this one proves it beyond question.
You admit there's no such thing as voter fraud, and we'll admit that getting a picture ID isn't really that hard to do. Stuff like that.
That's true. Both the left and the right must compromise if America is ever going to reclaim greatness. But here's the catch. Those compromises can't be built on lies, delusions, or politically convenient narratives. They must rest on objective truth grounded in facts, logic, and reality. That's the only foundation strong enough to hold a nation together. Flimsy, nonsensical truths might smooth things over temporarily, but they're shallow, fragile, and doomed to collapse under scrutiny. Real unity doesn't mean surrendering to fantasy. It means rallying around enduring principles, science, reason, morality, and common sense. Without that, America will keep stumbling through endless culture wars and divisions, trapped by ideas too weak to last. At the end of the day, Maher's message is blunt but necessary. The left must abandon woke fantasies. The right must confront its own flaws. And both sides have to meet on the common ground of facts, reason, and reality. Unity built on lies isn't unity. It's a ticking time bomb. If America truly wants to be united, it must rally around truth, not ideology. Anything less is national self-sabotage. But if you enjoyed today's breakdown, hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.